Start the recording here. All right, what is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome back to the Quad W Show. I'm your host, Adam Deutsch, and this is America's favorite one-take masterpiece. Got the Wednesday edition here for you. Before we start it off, I do want to say that there's a couple of things that have become very unevident when I am trying to trade with certain people or when I've been hearing trade rumors. One thing I'd like to note in this half PPR league, a wide receiver one does not equal a running back one unless the wide receiver one's name is Julio Jones or Michael Thomas. Those two just don't equate. So when people are trying to trade Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey for guys like DK Metcalf, it doesn't quite work like that way. And moving forward in trades without making other people angry, let's keep that in mind. Some things that are equivalent are RB2s equal wide receiver ones, RB2s equal tight end ones. It's really kind of like the range they're going in. So moving forward, let's not make any more of those mistakes, and let's try and keep the trades somewhat fair from the beginning. So without further ado, let's move into this week's power rankings. Circa day, let's see, get this out of the way here. Oh, messed it up. Resume noob. Okay. Sweet. So let's get rid of the football guys thing. So this week we had some interesting waiver decisions, especially with TJ or JT Tej. Go ahead and claiming T Higgins with his number one overall waiver claim, and that came as a surprise to everyone. And so after these waiver wire rankings, I have a new top 12. And so let's go from the back to the front here, and then we'll review each team as we're going. So number 12, I do have JT. Let's go take a peek at his team here. There's not a whole lot going on JT's team. I mean, Lamar Jackson coming off a really dismal week. Aaron Jones coming in and just absolutely torching the NFL. He's really like the only solid piece on that roster. Todd Gurley he's fading in the offense. Brian Hill is slowly going to seep carries there. Tyreek Hill, I mean, once again, he's really only got about three great pieces on there, being Tyreek Hill, Lamar, and Darren Waller. So Tej is in a really bad position as a fantasy owner. 0-3, not the way you want to start the year. Not a whole lot to say. No, I know he won't see this, so no point in trying to better his team at all. Move on to number 10 in my power rankings. I have Reggie here, also 0-3. Reggie's team was just unfortunately decimated by injuries. As shown here, not the greatest draft in the world. Taking Ezekiel Elliott with a third pick, I believe, is a great choice. However, Leonard Fournette as your RB2 is not where you want to be. Once again, if I have any trades that I'm willing to make, if I'm these owners, I will tell them individually, as I think it's unfair to announce some of those trades to a large platform. So I do have a trade that Reggie should try, or if I do have a trade that Reggie should try and do, I will text him personally as well as anyone else on the show. So I do have 3 trades for you after the power rankings, but they are ones that are more broad and not a whole lot you can mess up there. So if I have a trade, I will go ahead and bring that up later. But moving on to Reggie's team, I mean, Philip Lindsay, RB3 maybe, not a great situation. Odell Beckham, disappointment. Mike Evans pulls out a Jordan Howard-esque receiving performance last week with the 222 stat line. Marvin Jones is fading in the Lions offense. Noah Fant is going to do great things. However, with I think the third string quarterback in Denver, it's not looking great. Jerry Jeudy, same thing. So Cam Newton and Zeke are the real great pieces on this team. But other than that, Reggie is looking, unfortunately, like he is going to have a rough year. So number 9 in the power rankings, by the way, I do not rank myself. Number 9 is Paul. Move on here. Paul is 1 and 2, coming off of a win last week against Reggie. Paul is benefiting from a Drew Brees performance that went well, surprisingly. Started off the year kind of rough. Drew Brees is looking more like his old self, checking down, hitting receivers. At least he's accurate this time, so that's something that hadn't shown in weeks 1 and 2. Week 3 looked a lot better. Paul just does not have any sort of running backs. Like, there's no depth whatsoever. Melvin Gordon as your RB1 is not a great situation at all. Kareem Hunt, your RB2. I mean, I have seen better. Kareem Hunt is the pass catching back in a run heavy offense, so that speaks for itself. However, one thing that Paul has going for him is his wide receiver depth. However, a lot of his top guys are hurt. Michael Thomas, Julio, and Chris Godwin, all with the injury designation there. So he's looking like things could go in the right direction for him eventually. Needs to trade some of these receivers and tight end depth for running backs in the future. But right now, it's looking kind of grim for Paul unless he makes a move for running back. And he has to do it soon. 1 and 2 is not a great start and has to happen sooner rather than later. And then number 8 in our power rankings, we have Mitch. Go right in here to his team. Mitch is coming off of a 2-point victory over JT. So not a great showing when you're almost losing to the worst team by far in the league. Deshaun Watson, still believe that he will come into his own eventually. Josh Jacobs, great RB1. He will also take some time to grow in this Raiders offense that looks really potent if it's running on all cylinders. James Conner, Mike Tomlin made a questionable comment week 1 about how he liked Benny Snell. James Conner wasn't running as well, and so that kind of sent everyone into panic, including people in our league. Benny Snell was a waiver wire grab, but now at the end of week 3, it's looking like Benny Snell has almost no role in the offense. James Conner is by and large the feature back there and should continue to be for the near future. Benefiting off of a trade, which took away Joe Mixon. So he's got Kenny Golladay down there, who I think will do decently well. I was a little worried about his quarterback play limiting his production. Matt Stafford is a great guy. Starting to get up there in age. People forget he's like 32, 33 now, which is crazy. But I think this Detroit Lions offense is going the wrong direction. So I think Kenny Golladay is still like wide receiver 1, but not quite as high of a ceiling as we would have liked. John Brown should be fine. Not a huge worry there. That Bills offense is looking great. He is going to be a beneficiary of the Josh Allen MVP season. Devontae Parker is just someone who you throw in there. You're hoping to have a great game from him every once in a while. With Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm, it is hard to tell what you'll get, but Devontae Parker should be consistent from here on out. Once you get past the first 7 guys here, it gets a little bit grim. Curtis Samuel in your flex, not something you want to see. Alshon Jeffrey, I believe in. However, the big question is, can he stay on the field? He's shown in the last 3 years that he has not been able to do so, and I don't think anything changes from here on out. Alshon Jeffrey is a guy who, if he is healthy, he will be great, but I don't think he'll be able to stay on the field. So, Mitch, just a middle-of-the-road team, nothing too special, nothing too bad. Let's move on to number 7 in the power rankings, which I have right here. Let's take a peek here. Love the profile picture. Love this. Anyways, started off the season with a great Clyde Edwards-Helaire game, or I guess I should say Elaire game, and hoping he can return to that week 1 production. However, the last 2 weeks he has been subpar, not the RB1 that he was drafted 3rd overall for. But yeah, Clyde should come into his own. He is in an offense that is crazy high powered, absolutely insane. I think the Chiefs should run it back. There's no doubt in my mind that they have potential to do that. So the high powered offense benefits him for sure. David Johnson, the Texans have been a scary 0-3 team, albeit they've played some tough competition, but David Johnson is still maybe not the RB1 that he was drafted for in like 2017, but he's still a very competent RB2. So running back depth definitely gotten better since last time we spoke on the show. So great job there, like the ads. And then the wide receivers with Juju, Will Fuller, and Robbie Anderson. This is an extremely boom or bust wide receiver core. You could have these guys put up goose eggs 1 week, and then you could have each one of them go for 25 points. Like, this is a very, very big Vegas casino odds type lineup here. You have to have these guys firing on all cylinders in order to win your wide receiver matchup for this week, because these guys they're projected, I guess, 36 points in total, but they could very easily put up 1 point each, or they could put up 25. So this isn't the kind of football that I would like to necessarily rely on. However, it is not my team. This is not a bad receiving core. However, I would look for guys that have higher floors. You can definitely sell high after a big game from one of these guys. Teddy Bridgewater is not a great quarterback option, but Robbie Anderson is a boomer bust. He's definitely the biggest one of these three. Will Fuller, Deshaun Watson will be fine. Will Fuller is boomer bust, but he's got a higher floor than Robbie Anderson, and then Juju has the highest floor of all of them. However, playing in the slot, sometimes you'll get matched up against the corners that have the shutdown ability, but Juju is very talented, and I think he has definitely the biggest piece of all of these three receivers, but I won't say much more about that. Very boomer bust here. Johnny Smith, a surprising tight end addition, or a surprising tight end this year that has sort of come out of nowhere. Myles Gaskin, interesting flex option. T.Y. Hilton's been a disappointment. Lot of depth here on the bench. Maybe you can try and flip one of these guys for something, like package together. I know one of the fantasy football sins is 3 bad players doesn't equal 1 good player, but potentially with the right owner, you could be able to find someone to take on some of these pieces and move forward and maybe improve your receiving core. So that is number 7 in the power rankings. Now for number 6, I have Parker. Parker is sitting here with Russell Wilson at the helm, and he has a very, very scary running back situation. Probably the worst in the league, unfortunately. Josh Kelly, as shown last week, he can put up some duds, and it will hurt you big time. Mike Davis only going to be productive for probably, I'm assuming, 3 more weeks. Christian McCaffrey is targeting that week 6 return. I'm not sure they play. Let me check real fast. They are against Chicago, so would be looking for maybe something else in this running back position. Don't trade Mike Davis, but I would look for something to replace him because this is a very scary group right here. But the receivers more than make up for it. DJ Moore, love the guy, love where he was drafted. People have been giving Parker a lot of crap for where he was picked, and I just don't understand it. Teddy Bridgewater he's an interesting quarterback option. Definitely not fantasy relevant, but definitely not incompetent. So DJ Moore could for sure have his big weeks, and he's just waiting to get into his own, find the role in the offense and that brand new first-year head coach. Calvin Ridley has been one of the biggest surprises of the year. Exploded onto the scene. He should have, I'm not sure where he was drafted, but he should have been drafted 26th overall. He should have been drafted up there with guys like Godwin and Devontae Adams with the kind of production we've seen from the first 3 weeks. So Calvin Ridley, great option. Don't see him moving anytime soon. DJ Chark, another interesting option. Gardner Minshew he had a down week last week. I would totally expect him to come back and perform the same way as weeks 1 and 2. Week 4 shouldn't be any different from those. So DJ Chark will be the beneficiary of that. Love Hayden Hurst. Love Laviska Shenault. Interesting double Jaguars action, though. Not the offense I would choose to have double teams in, but live and you'll learn. And then this bench it's a train wreck. A.J. Brown will be great once he comes back. However, that bone bruise in the knee is looking scary. Still not sure why the Titans didn't just put him on the IR because this will be week 3 of him not playing. So baffles me there. The Titans front office maybe just didn't respond well to the treatment. Not sure what's going on, but Logan Thomas, one of probably 2 targets left in that Redskins offense, McLaurin and Thomas being it. Antonio Gibson is an option. However, I think he's more a goal line, or he's more of a backfield threat than a receiving threat, but it's there. Zach Moss, Cam Akers, these guys will probably just be change of pace backs from what we've seen. Zach Moss taking the goal line work from Singletary, and Cam Akers just providing a couple snaps of rest to AP, which makes no sense to me, or not AP, I'm sorry, Darrell Henderson, which makes no sense to me, but that's why Sean McVay is getting paid the big bucks and I am not. So if we move on, number 5 is Jaden. All right. And Jaden's team is starting to come in. This is the the teams from here on out are in the upper echelon tier. There's sort of a stark divide between these ones. This is where you'll start to see the very complete teams, the ones that look like they could go the distance. And so, starting off quarterback, Dak Prescott, the Cowboys are throwing the ball a ridiculous amount. It is absolutely insane. It's one of the only offenses, maybe besides the Bengals right now, that can even house 4 fantasy relevant options, being Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and then Dalton Schultz on good weeks. So 4 receiving options in an offense, that is absolutely nuts, but wouldn't expect anyone else but the Cowboys to do that. Derrick Henry, he's been running the ball well, just hasn't been finding the end zone. A lot of carries, not worried at all about his production. Devin Singletary, he was my fantasy crush last year. This year, not so much given the situation with Zach Moss, but last week he had a productive week. Let's take a peek here. 13 carries, 71 yards, and 4 receptions for 50 yards. Not much more you can ask for your fill-in RB2 of the week. I'm pretty sure it's a fill-in, but yeah, Devin Singletary, 14.1 points. Pretty good effort from him, playing the very, very weak Raiders run defense this week. So should be able to gash him up a little bit. Adam Thielen, not panicking with him at all, given the Justin Jefferson performance last week. CeeDee Lamb, just mentioned him. Love the guy. Love what he's been doing this year. I think his role is only going to grow from here on out, being a rookie. Russell Gage, concussion scares me a little bit, but he should be able to suit up against Green Bay on Monday night. Mark Andrews, a dud on Monday night. It was an absolute dud. Not much more you can say about that either. It's just he dropped a touchdown pass. I think Lamar Jackson only threw for like 97 yards, so it's hard to get going when your quarterback only is able to throw for 97 yards. But definitely still a top 5 tight end option, 1,000%. And then Devontae Adams was not able to play last week, and then Allen Lazard broke out because of it. I do see Allen Lazard as a touchdown-dependent flex play for the rest of the year if Devontae Adams plays. Devontae Adams is for sure top 3 wide receiver if he's on the field, but when he's off the field, Lazard moves up into that wide receiver 2 category. Still a little bit touchdown dependent because last week he's one of those guys who sort of reminds me of Marquise Brown, but not to the same extent. The 6 for 146 stat line is a very large portion of just big gains. And so Allen Lazard is a great option. Devontae Adams is a great option. Aaron Rodgers has been playing great. So love the starting lineup. At the bench, I mean, obviously it's not going to be great, but it's not too bad here. J.K. Dobbins, not sure why he's not receiving the ball more. Henry Ruggs, the only receiver that I trust that's not named Darren Waller in the Raiders offense. Gronkowski is supposed to receive more touches with Godwin, or not touches. We're supposed to receive more targets with Godwin out this week. Scotty Miller definitely is in line for more targets as well, but look to see Mike Evans gain 10 to 12 targets against that Chargers defense. Malcolm Brown, he's there. Jordan Reed, IR, Rex Burkhead. Yep. Jaden, the team is looking decent, and if I'm you, I am not touching a single thing. Love it. Love what you've done, my man. Love what you've done. Number 4, this is the biggest mover of the week. We have Noah with a lot of moves in the last 2 weeks, a lot of trades, but he definitely came out on top in some of these moves. Picking up Matt Ryan, he had no quarterback situation at the beginning of the year. I think he was the one who drafted Carson Wentz. So getting Matt Ryan, great choice there. Kenyon Drake will come into his own. Just got to wait for him. James Robinson, the biggest running back surprise of the year, being traded right now for guys such as Joe Mixon and the Fantasy Wire. So it's very solid RB2, RB1 production some weeks. So I would just hold these guys 1,000%. Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, McLaurin, great receiving core. These guys all have very high floors, given that they are the top receiving options on their team. However, guys like D-Hop and Stephon Diggs have shown that they can break out for 2 touchdowns, 10 receptions, and then McLaurin is the only option in the Redskins offense. So love this a lot. Hunter Henry, very underrated tight end. He was up there in the top 8 2 years ago. Injuries have brought him down a little bit. He's now still fantasy relevant. No worries there. Antonio Gibson, just mentioned him earlier. Great receiving back, great just running back in general. One thing I'm worried about is his ability to have running lanes, similar to the Bengals and Giants offense. He is not able to really see the field very well because he's being swarmed instantaneously. So one thing to watch, but with a talented back, sometimes it doesn't, like, all it takes is just one broken play and then they can see themselves through through the crowd. So Antonio Gibson, good guy to watch there. Frank Gore, Cooks, Herbert on the bench. Brian Hill I like that. Brian Hill will receive more touches. He's probably the more talented back, dare I say, in the Falcons offense because Todd Gurley has looked not great so far, and it's almost like he seemed to step slow ever since his injuries that brought him down. I believe it was the 2018 or 17 season where he just went absolutely nuts. 2018, I think. And ever since then, he's just looked a step slow after the knee injuries and stuff like that. So Brian Hill, definitely going to take over some touches in that offense. And yeah, there is the number 4 team. So now moving into the top 3. Number 3, I do have Mason coming in here off of the tough loss to myself. Interestingly, where Jeff Wilson went off. No one could have predicted that. Aaron Rodgers, like I said earlier, he is for sure he's performing above his ADP, and right now I want to say he's he's the 6th best fantasy quarterback this year, which is absolutely nuts given his weapons around him. Drafting AJ Dillon in the first round, drafting AJ Dillon in general, and Jordan Love in the first round, that doesn't make sense to me at all. You should just surround your Hall of Fame quarterback with some weapons, and Rodgers has this is his fuck you season. This is his prove it all. This is his leave it all on the table season. So great fantasy pickup. Dalvin Cook went absolutely nuts last week. Don't need to say much about him. Raheem Mostert worries me. The injury is, I mean, you don't mess around with lower body injuries, lower body injuries ever. And Mostert's knee is, I mean, not practicing on Wednesday. Nothing is pointing to him playing this upcoming week, and knees are not something you mess with. So I would guess Mostert comes back in the next 2 weeks, but I would be surprised if he suits up this week, given the depth at that the Niners had. Tevin Coleman on the IR and McKinnon supposed to come back from his rib injury this week, but we'll see what happens there. Love Amari Cooper, love Keenan Allen. Receiving, I think it was 19 targets last week, which is absolutely nuts. He won't be able to keep that efficiency up. However, with Mike Williams going down with injury, he's for sure going to be the beneficiary of all that work as shown last week. So love these 2 guys a lot. I think they're only going to get better from here on out. Deontay Johnson's concussion, not scary. Or it was a scary, I guess, okay, let me rephrase this. I'm not scared about Deontay Johnson. I think he will come back. He will be fine. He was really flourishing in the Steelers offense as, I don't want to say he was the outside receiver because he was in the slot most of the time, but Juju's spot is in the slot. So it's kind of hard for him to find work because he's not an outside receiver. He is most definitely a slot guy, but that's where Juju is, obviously. So we'll see how the Steelers work on that from there. Travis Kelce, by and large, the number 1 fantasy tight end. He's a guy that I would trade an RB1 or an RB2 for 1,000%. I'm not saying you trade Travis Kelce bricks, but definitely a guy who can bring some value back onto your team in this running back category. Julian Edelman, Cam Newton's looking great. Edelman's only going to be a beneficiary. And then the bench, loving what Hardman's doing, loving what Jefferson's doing, loving what like Lazard's doing. These 3 are guys that have high upsides, and they've proven in the last couple of weeks that they are legit. Gesicki, the tight end in that hurting Dolphins offense. Can't say not much to complain about there. Jerick McKinnon mentioned it before. Sammy Watkins looked great on Monday. I do have 2 trades for, or I have 1 trade. Sorry, 1 trade for bricks, but I'll bring it up at the end and take it with a grain of salt. You can do it, you cannot do it. Doesn't matter to me. Just some things that I was researching this afternoon. But number 2 is Los with the What's 9/11. Patrick Mahomes. Congrats to him getting engaged and then having a baby all within the same 2-month span. What a guy. Nick Chubb, the Browns offense is 100% run heavy, and we've seen them play against teams where they were supposed to win the first 3 weeks. So we've just seen the only running side of the Browns. However, this week against Dallas, I expect them to be behind and playing from the back. So we'll see if Nick Chubb still keeps his role as the feature back or if we'll see more of the Kareem Hunt show. And this is also a week to watch for OBJ and Jarvis Landry to come into their own and maybe become fantasy relevant. I don't see Landry more than is he on this team? No. I don't see Landry more than a wide receiver 3 Odell Beckham he's got that wide receiver one upside, but it is really hard to come by this year and in the last 2 years with Odell. So probably a low wide receiver two at the time being, but we'll see how they play against Dallas. Darrell Henderson against the Giants. Love the matchup. The Giants can't stop anything. A Pee-wee football team might be able to score on them. Really bad situation there. Tyler Lockett, definitely a big story at the receiver position. I believe he's the number 2 fantasy tight end this year, which is absolutely insane. Russell Wilson is slinging the ball like crazy, and Lockett is running with all those targets and just going absolutely nuts with them. So love that there. Marquise Brown does scare me, however. He's a guy who is very, very, very boomer bust. Last week, I believe it was 2 for 13 stat line for him. It's not great when Marquise Brown does not get into the end zone. However, you keep him in your offense or in your lineup each week because of the chance to score. Like, it is most definitely always there. He was only missed, or Lamar Jackson missed that pass at the very end of the game, and that would have been an easy score for Marquise Brown. So he is so close to breaking off the big plays every week, and it just hasn't fallen his way at the beginning of the year. But Marquise Brown does scare me as a start. I would not be starting him as wide receiver 2 in my team. He's more of a flex guy, but when you have Miles Sanders as your flex, you can't complain too much. So Marquise Brown. AJ Green looked great this week against Darius Slay, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he matched up against Darius Slay this week on the outside, and although he had a less productive week than week 2, he looked a lot better. AJ Green is back. I will not hesitate to say that. He's not where he was in 2016, but AJ Green is most definitely back, and a guy to look forward to as the season goes on. We've missed seeing him. We've obviously felt bad for him, but AJ Green, love the guy. Higbee, not going to be a tight end one like he was playing at the end of last year, but the Rams offense is cooking. Miles Sanders is also a great addition here. The Eagles have a great guy here to watch. The Eagles have no one on offense. I believe their number one option is Ertz, and then after that, it is just real bad. Deshaun Jackson injured, Alshon Jeffries injured, Rager's injured, Goddard's injured. So you have guys like Greg Ward on the outside, Arcega-Whiteside. Yeah, Miles Sanders is going to get a heavy dose against the Niners this week. And then on the bench, it's even a greater story. Montgomery, easily a guy you could start in leagues. Jamison Crowder, he's a Jet. We don't like to start Jets, but he is probably the only guy who I would feel halfway comfortable starting. Mike Williams, hurt. Keelan Cole, interesting. Devontae Freeman, don't like him. KJ Hamler. I mean, the last ones are great. Goddard as your tight end is awesome. But Los is for sure the second best team in the league, and 3-0 start only reinforces that. So love the team here, Los. And then moving on to the number 1 spot, I do have C coming in with a whopping 178 points last week, which is absolutely insane. Kyler Murray's been playing like an MVP. Kamara's been playing like he wants to take the MVP spot from Kyler. Austin Eckler took this. He absolutely stole the show last week. Sort of gave the middle finger to Josh Kelly and said, "This is my backfield." Robert Woods, the Rams offense is cooking. Robert Woods is going to have a share of that. Michael Gallup was really quiet to start the year, but last game, I believe it was like 6 catches. I can actually look it up. 6 catches for, I want to say 138. Yeah, 138 yards. So if he is back into Dak Prescott's, can't think of the word. Dak Prescott's receiver list, I guess that's what I'm looking for. That's a great thing because they had a connection last year. Little Wi-Fi issue there. Michael Gallup, if he's back on Dak Prescott's radar, it's looking great for those two. Greg Ward, nothing more than a volume ad. Zach Ertz, the only guy there. Chris Carson, hope he's all right. Love the guy there. And yeah, see, your team is for sure the best team that we've seen tonight. So love what you've done. The draft went really well. And now it is time to move on to some potential trades. So we'll end the screen share here and just set in. So I have 3. Okay, so before I begin, I have 3 trades I'm going to discuss right now. And I have other trades obviously, but if I announce them as a public thing, it kind of ruins the whole trade thing. But I have three that I'm going to say out loud, and then the rest I will message people individually. So if you don't receive a message, just know that I liked your team, or I didn't think there was anything you could move. So, number one, it is between Bricks and O, and this I kind of alluded to this at the or when I was reviewing Bricks' team, but this trade is going to be centered around CEH and Travis Kelce. Now, before you jump on me, I would like to let's go back and look at their teams, because if someone needs a running back in the league besides Parker, it is most definitely Mason. He needs that running back to become elite in the fantasy season, because Raheem Mostert is definitely not that guy. Moving Travis Kelce and potentially getting Jonnu Smith back would be a downgrade, but getting CEH would be absolutely insane for your team. It would make this offense elite. And so the trade I had mocked up was Kelce and Mostert for Jonnu Smith and CEH. I ran it through my Fantasy Pros website, and it improves both of your power rankings by 1%, which is actually a vast amount. So definitely one that I'm the most psyched about that one out of all these trades. So if I could see that happen, that would be insane. I think it would help both sides a ton. We didn't even talk about the side or O's side, but O would most definitely benefit from a solid tight end, and then Mostert, once he comes back, it would be an improvement over Myles Gaskin in the flex, I believe. So you had yeah, I definitely would maybe consider trade talks there, but I'm not going to be too hurt if that doesn't happen. Number two is between C and Paul, and this is one that I kind of alluded to earlier as well. It is centered around Austin Eckler, and then Paul is giving up either Julio or Michael Thomas. So I think one of the more, I guess, out of the upper echelon, we'll call it, of fantasy teams right here, there's like a stark divide probably right about here. And I think the weakest wide receiving core in all of these is definitely C. However, you could totally boost that by moving Eckler to a team that is really hurting for running backs, and that is Paul. I think the Eckler is borderline RB1, RB2, sort of in that area. And I think you could most definitely get Julio and Michael Thomas from Paul with the right negotiations. So I would look to consider that. It would help both sides immensely. I know after seeing Eckler's performance last week, you can probably sell him pretty high. So I would look to maybe start one of those discussions. And then trade number three is also with C, and it is also with Bricks. And this time it is, let me go over here. It's more of a small scale one. It is just a classic running back for wide receiver swap. It's going to be Mark Ingram for Julian Edelman. If the CH thing isn't able to go through, I think Brick still needs a second running back, and Mark Ingram wouldn't be an awful choice right there. Yeah, and then the Julian Edelman thing, he's been a solid flex, wouldn't be more than a flex on C's team, but it is a wide receiver which he's hurting for, and yeah, I think that could also be great for your teams. Fantasy Bros has it as a 0.4% power rankings increase for Bricks if the trade goes through, or for C if it goes through, and it's a 0.1% for C if it goes through. So one of the rare things where both teams are improved if that goes through. And yeah, that is all I have for trades. And this week from the scoreboard, I'll give a very brief thing before our time runs out here. I fully expect to beat Paul. I think this matchup is most definitely the game of the week. Look to be dependent on if Dalvin Cook can go nuts again, and depending on how much Miles Sanders is used as a workhorse, that could be. I think this is the matchup to watch: Sanders versus Cook. Whoever can get more points there is probably going to lead to the team winning. C should handily defeat Mitch. Not too worried about that. Noah should handily defeat JT. Parker against O. I do think you have the advantage here. Parker is not really a scary 1-2. He's just a 1-2 team, so not too scary there. And then Jaden is a very powerful 1-2, so I think he should be able to defeat Reggie there. But that is all I have for right now. The mailbag section is going to have to be cut short because my Zoom is going to end. But I think there's like 17,000 chat things, so let me go look. Mason at 11 o'clock goes, worst RB situation is 6. Yeah. I'll have to go back and read this because I'm not sure when it happened, but I love reading this stuff. This is awesome. Mason, I just think you need some more running back help there. It's not looking great for you. Mostert is, I mean, the Niners are a run heavy offense, but there's just so many mouths to feed there. And once Coleman comes back, and Jeff Wilson has established himself as the goal line back now over Mostert. Mostert is a speedster coming out of Purdue, which Purdue seems to produce a lot of speedsters. So I don't think Coleman is going to. Yeah, I don't think Coleman's going to receive goal line work. I think it is Jeff Wilson from here on out. But I think Kyle Shanahan produces running backs and would love to see all those mouths getting fed. So me personally, I'm a little scared of that Niners backfield. See if we can. Oh, says the trade would not be happening under any circumstances. Yeah. So I mean, obviously those trades are very, very, very rough, and it's very, um, yeah, it's a very rough outline. Nothing's finalized, but I would like to say that is the end of the episode. We'll be adjusting the mailbag tomorrow on Live and Amplified. I will send it over to Noah and Paul, and that is all I got for you. So thank you, and have a great night.